Hello and welcome to my Blu-ray review of RazorwireReviews' recent release of the movie Pit Stop. So over the past 2 days I've watched this film, I've watched all the special features it has to offer, and I've kind of gone in depth on this, and I'm going to tell you everything about it, about the film, about the transfer of the Blu-ray, how it looks, how it sounds, and what the special features are like. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the film. So I'll put this down for now and tell you about Pit Stop. The movie was released in 1969. It was, I think, finished in 1967, or at least filmed in 1967. It took a couple of years before they could release it, and there's a lot of information about the film actually on the Blu-ray, and they've done a great job with the special features in terms of giving you information that, for me, I couldn't really find when I was looking online about the film before I got this Blu-ray. I was thinking, well, what's this film about? You know, and I usually like to look up trivia about movies and things like that, and there wasn't really much online. So this is really a great kind of resource of information for people who are a fan of the film or a fan of the director Jack Hill, who's a kind of a legendary cult film director. Jack Hill, you know, he made Coffee, Foxy Brown, many exploitation films. Quentin Tarantino once said that he, you know, thinks he's a great filmmaker, and that kind of gave kind of a bit of a resurgence to Jack Hill's kind of, not his career because he stopped making films now, but you know, his name's got a bit more kind of recognition now. And you know, when Quentin Tarantino blew up in the 90s, he was very much kind of speaking out about Jack Hill and how his movies kind of, you know, were awesome. And I have to agree, seeing this film, honestly, and I'm not just saying this, I really, really love Pit Stop. There's something about this film that just really, really appealed to me. And the first word I could kind of use to describe this film would be cool. It was just a cool film. Like, for some reason, the main character, played by Richard Davalos, really reminded me kind of a James Dean, like a forgotten James Dean type. He really just had something about him, this cool kind of calm, collected charisma, but there was still something brewing underneath the surface, and it's about him. He plays a character called Rick Bowman, who is he's kind of a drag racer, you know, and he gets into the world of stock car racing, and in particular the figure eight race, which is a very dangerous kind of form of racing that went on in America back in that period. And so the film is really about that. It's about this stock car racing, and he kind of gets involved in this with this promoter who's really kind of pushing to kind of, I don't know, find the next big driver, or, you know, find the person who's going to make him the most money. And he gets into this stock racing ring, and he encounters this guy played by Sid Haig, legendary Sid Haig, and he plays a character called Hawk Sidney. And he's hilarious. I mean, I really enjoyed Sid Haig in this film. Probably my favorite part of the whole film. When it starts out, he really is like just the biggest heel. He's just such a but he's kind of a guy you love to kind of hate as well at the same time. He's really funny with how much of a twat he is, basically, and he's a really enjoyable kind of antagonist to watch on screen. But I love that there was a depth to his character, because it wasn't all what it seemed, and this is something I think Jack Hill did very well with this film. He played with the cliches, he played with what you kind of expect from a film, because I watched it and, you know, I was enjoying it, and, you know, I really was enjoying it from the get-go. The music by the Daily Flash, they provided music for this film, it just really got me into the mood of the whole thing, you know, the kind of the car culture, you know, of the 60s and everything that goes along with that, and particularly, again, the main character Rick Bowman and his kind of you know, his life of just driving cars, and that's all he kind of did. And we don't really know anything else about his character other than that he races cars. And again, that speaks very much to the kind of the time period, and also, I guess, the type of movie it is. But I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the relationship he had with Sid Haig's character Hawk, and their rivalry, and where it continues throughout the film. And again, the character arcs that, from when I first started watching the film, I kind of had it figured out in my head already, but then it kind of takes a bit of a turn, and it wasn't what I was expecting, and I really like that. I like it when a movie takes you somewhere that you're not expecting. You know, it leads you down the primrose path of cliches, and then just as you're enjoying the view, it pulls you off, and you suddenly don't know where you are. And I really like that when a film can do that. And it was great. It's a low-budget film. You know, I think they had about $35,000 is a figure that's thrown around on the special features. People were talking about the film. A very low amount of money, obviously now, but I mean, you know, back then it was still low. And Jack Hill somehow managed to kind of really play with a lot of kind of free things. You know, they had a lot of product placement, like the racing, you know, the track that they used during the film. The guy who owned it, you know, he actually is in the movie, so they got to use it for free. And there are many instances in that where they kind of really worked their way smartly around the finances of making Pit Stop, which was originally called The Winner. And what I like about the Blu-ray is that to make the transfer for this, they actually went to Jack Hill's own personal 35mm answer print. So it actually has The Winner as the title still intact. So the original title was The Winner, and I think it fits a lot better because it just fits within the general theme of the movie, the overarching theme. Pit Stop, there aren't any pit stops in the film, so it kind of doesn't make sense, but they had to change it because there was a movie coming out with Paul Newman called Winning, and they felt it was too similar. But the line, the winner, you know, or being a winner, is used a few times throughout the film, so it would have made a lot more sense, but I like that it's still intact on the film print and on the Blu-ray as presented by Arrow, so that's really cool. And there's some other great, you know, characters in the film and some good acting. I really enjoyed the acting of the film, and you could almost liken it to a Tarantino film, or I guess the other, you should be saying that it's likening a Tarantino film to a Jack Hill film, but the kind of way that the characters kind of talk, it's kind of like you're hanging out with them, and kind of like you're just getting a feel of just like who they are, and you don't really get too deep into their psyche, but you kind of, it's just like hanging out with someone, really. I mean, that phrase is used a lot when people talk about Tarantino's style of filmmaking at times, and you can definitely see where he might have been, you know, inspired by certain ways of Jack Hill's direction, you know, with the actors and his writing as well. He wrote and directed the film. For me, I love, probably the best thing about the film are the races. They're just like brutal, and they really shot these races, you know, proper stock car figure 8 races. They are crashing, and there's just like, it's the black and white photography. I didn't mention that, sorry. The film was shot in black and white again because a lot of it was shot at night with the races. At that time in the late 60s, you couldn't really film in color in those kind of like dark night scenes without using a lot of lights to kind of light it, and they couldn't afford that, so they had to really shoot it in black and white, and I think that hurt the film when it was released. You know, they weren't really kind of interested in those kind of films. Around then, in the late 60s, it was all color, and you know, these days a black and white film is welcomed. It's an artistic choice, but this was really out of necessity. But I think it really helps the film. I love the way it looks in black and white. I think there's some beautiful shots in the film. The way that the camera moves is really interesting. There's a lot of handheld stuff, which really kind of lends itself well to the realistic kind of feel that I got from the film. There's a scene where a character kind of destroys a car with a, you know, with a weapon. I won't say, you know, what, in case you're going to see the film, but usually in a film, if you saw that in a film now, it would be someone coming in with like a baseball bat and just like, you know, a lot of quick cuts, bang, 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 and he'd walk off and the car would be trashed. This just seemed to go on for like minutes, and it was really, you know, it just was so realistic, and you know, his character was really, you know, putting the work in to destroy this car, and it took a long time, and it was just a really realistic scene that was just, it was a tangible moment that got me even more involved and invested in the story of the film. And the races, again, they're just great. There's a really cool scene up in these sand dunes, I guess in California somewhere, and they're riding dune buggies, and it goes on for quite a while. It's almost quite surreal. This cool music, you know, and just this nice kind of relaxing kind of tune that kind of just plays over these guys just whipping around the sand dunes in dune buggies. Maybe it goes on a bit too long, that scene, but for me, I really enjoyed it. So I guess it depends on the person who's watching it. Very subjective, but the whole film overall, I really enjoyed. There was something cool about it, as I said. Particularly Rick Bowman, his character was very interesting to me, and he had a very magnetic kind of charisma on screen, even though he didn't, you know, say much. Or I was going to liken him to Ryan Gosling a little in Drive, but he does speak more than that. But there are times where he conveys a lot without saying hardly anything, particularly in his moments with Sid Haig's character Hawk. So overall, I loved Pit Stop. The only thing I didn't like about it was the ending. It really kind of, it didn't sit well with me, and I'll kind of wrap that up in a bit. What I'm going to do is rate the movie out of 5 stars. I'd give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. A really great film, and I would highly recommend it to people. I mean, it seems like one of those obscure movies that you probably won't be that much interested in, but for me, I actually really did like it, and I'll definitely be watching it again. And yeah, so a solid 4 out of 5 stars for me on Pit Stop as a movie. Now, the presentation, you know, how it looks on Blu-ray, And the sound, I'm not much of an audiophile, but the sound was great. I had it turned up loud on my TV, and the car scenes with the crashes, you know, you were hearing the steel and the metal and it's just big booming sounds. And obviously the soundtrack isn't going to be that great for a film this old, and also a film that was kind of quite low budget, but I think it sounded great for what it was. And again, I'm not really much of an audiophile, I couldn't really go into too much detail, but the sound was great, you know. The only thing I would say is that some of the dialogue was hard to hear at times, but I think that's more of the nuance of the characters, because there's a lot of softly spoken things, but you just need to kind of pay more attention than usual, I think. And the music sounded great as well. The video, you know, the visuals were awesome. I think the job they did restoring this film was fantastic. It looks great on Blu-ray. The grain structure is fully intact, and just, yeah, I'm glad, because a lot of times when people go back and they restore these old movies, they just DNR the hell out of them, and you just get this waxy kind of effect, and it's not really a true film look, and you need that film grain, and there's a lot of grain, and it looks great. It looks really it's kind of gritty, but it's still kind of, they've cleaned it up, but they haven't gone too far, and it still retains a kind of scrappy kind of look that really kind of, for me, it heightened the experience of watching it, knowing that it was from the time period that it was. And yeah, I just think that it just looked fantastic, and there's a feature that I'll talk about that covers that as well. So for me, as far as it looks, you know, the video and audio, I would give this a 4.5 stars out of 5. Obviously, with working with the materials they had, it's never going to be like a crystal clear, crisp, like an Avengers or something, but a really, really great job for a film that looks like it does. And when you see some of the footage that hasn't been graded and hasn't been cleaned up, then I really think they did an amazing job with this. Now the special features. We have the first thing is a feature, mainly interviews, Crash and Burn, Jack Hill on the making of Pit Stop. So they actually spoke to the director. It's a 15-minute interview, and he talks, and we have kind of clips from the film that illustrate some of the things that he's talking about, the actors that he's discussing. And he talks about his experience of making the film. There's some cool stories. He talks a little bit about his experience with Hollywood after this film, and about, you know, how he felt about the actors and what they brought to the role, and you know, everything about the film. And it was a very interesting little interview. Then we have Drive Hard, actor Sid Haig, an interview with him. This is about 16-17 minutes long. This is really interesting as well, and I'm glad they tracked him down along with Jack Hill to kind of get some input and get an interview to go on this release, because it really kind of, for me, when I see a film like this, I want to know more about it, and this was kind of the perfect kind of companion piece of the film to go and watch these interviews of the, you know, the actor and the director, and you know, in present day, talking about the film and looking back on a film that is, you know, almost 50 years old. I mean, they made it in 1967. It's not far off a 50-year-old film. So it really is incredible that it's getting such a great release, I think. And again, with it being such an obscure title and one of Jack Hill's lesser known films, it's definitely really cool. But the Sid Haig interview was really cool. He had some funny stories, and yeah, it was great hearing his thoughts on the film and thoughts on his character, and also he talked about his method of acting, which is really interesting to me. And then we have an interview with Roger Corman, who is the producer of the film, Life in the Fast Lane, and he talks about how Pit Stop came about, you know, how he kind of brought it up, and you know, suggested the idea to Jack Hill to do a stock car racing movie, and how Jack Hill was like, well, I want to make an art movie. So Roger Corman said, well, why not make a stock car racing art movie? So that's how it came about. It gave him a little bit of money to make it, and he talks about that. But he also talks about his experience with Jack Hill beyond Pit Stop, some other films. And what I liked about these interviews was whenever someone's mentioned, usually a picture comes up on screen, we get a little title of their name, so you can kind of put a face to the name, and also the films they discuss. A poster will come up on screen, so you have more of a visual. If you don't know what the film is, or you haven't heard of it before, you get kind of a visual to go along with whatever they're talking about. So they did a good job with putting together these interviews and editing them as well. I thought that was a really good job. And then we have a short little featurette about 4 minutes long called Restoring Pit Stop, which is a kind of a restoration demonstration by the technical supervisor James White, and he talks about how they restored the film, and we see little kind of clips from the film. Sometimes with kind of a split screen, you get kind of the ungraded original print that they worked with, and then what they did, and you see the difference, and it's really stunning. Adding a lot more contrast into the picture, and again, just kind of really kind of taking out some of the artifacts, you know, the damage to the film print, without going too far. You know, they haven't gone in and taken out every single little scratch and and you know and blip on the film. They've really kind of made it look great, but they haven't gone too far, which I think was really cool, and again just kind of landed itself well to the film. I just really enjoyed the way it looked, and it's a great little feature. Again, it's basically just clips and still images, and we see comparisons of the ungraded and then the graded film. They had to grade the film from scratch, which is a really big amount of work. So again, it really is great seeing them put a lot of effort into this, and yeah, it's a great little feature. You just get the supervisor James White just narrating over the footage, and that was a really cool little bonus feature. And we get the trailer as well. The original theatrical trailer. I don't know if it was shown theatrical, I suppose it was, but the original trailer, and I really liked that as well. It wasn't the high definition Blu-ray kind of graded footage, which is kind of even cooler. It had a real scrappy look to it, and Crash-a-rama, and it was just a really cool little trailer. I really enjoy trailers, so I'm glad that it was included on this release. And then finally, as a special feature on the Blu-ray, we have an audio commentary with director Jack Hill, and it's moderated by his biographer who wrote a book about his career, and his name is Callum Waddell, and he did a good job. He kind of steered the conversation along, kind of asked Jack questions. It's not all specific to the film, it veers off and kind of, he asks Jack about, his other films, and how making Pit Stop might have kind of, informed his kind of decisions on, casting and making other films, and how things were in that period for his career. But they also talk about the film a lot, especially stuff that's happening on screen, which I really like in commentaries. I don't like it when it's just a conversation and they don't really reference what's happening on screen. I like it when they do reference what's happening on screen, and they do in this, so that was good. And I really enjoyed Jack Hill's contribution to this whole Blu-ray release. To do the interview and to sit down and do the full commentary was really great. And he's really quite a humble guy, and I enjoyed hearing his thoughts and on his direction on the film and everything to go along with it. The audio commentary was really, really good. So overall, the extras, I'd give this, again, probably about 4.5 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed the way that the special features informed you on the film and acted as a great companion piece to me watching the film and then watching the special features. So yeah, I really liked the bonus material on this release. So the only thing left to talk about is really the presentation. I love the cover, and I've made a video where I opened this up from the package when I received it. So if you want to check that out, there'll be a link in the description of this video, and I kind of show you this in a bit more close-up detail. But as it is, I love this cover. This is newly commissioned artwork by Jay Shaw. I think it's great. It really suits the film, I think, and I love the design overall with the white on black. Looks really great, and we have a reversible sleeve, which I'll show you now. And here it is. I really like this artwork. I think it is actually the original poster, so that's really cool. And I love just, again, the feel of it, the kind of exploitation feel to it. It's really great. And then on the back it kind of flips around the color scheme to black on white, which I really like. And it's, yeah, I'm really going to be spoilt for choice over which cover to use and put on my shelf. I'm kind of leaning towards this one now I've actually seen the film. And finally, actually no, one more thing. This has the DVD with it as well. There's a Blu-ray DVD combo, and I looked at the DVD, and it looks great. I mean, the work they've done on the film, it really shows whether it's on DVD or Blu-ray. Obviously the Blu-ray is a lot better, a lot sharper, and a lot more kind of filmic, but the DVD still looks great, and it has all the special features on the Blu-ray as well. So I mean, that's great. I think it's a really nice addition. Again, I spoke in my other video about how I'm not really a big fan of the DVDs included, but I think it does serve a purpose, and it is really handy to have it anyway. So this is a really complete release, and it's also region free. Actually, the DVD is region free as well. The DVD is region 0, so you can play the Blu-ray or the DVD anywhere in the world, so that's awesome. So I would definitely recommend this. I really enjoyed it, but check out the trailer, but for me, I really like this. And finally, one more thing that I mentioned earlier, the ending of the film, which didn't really sit too well with me. It was when I watched the interview with Jack Hill, which is the first special feature I watched directly after I finished watching the film. All it needed was 2 sentences from him, and I got the ending. And it kind of sat a lot better with me after that, because I understood where the director was coming from, and I understood that was his plan all along. That's what he wanted to do, and that was his artistic choice. And from that moment, I kind of enjoyed the film more because the ending kind of just sat better with me. As I said, there's no other way to put it. So that was my favourite part of this Blu-ray, was watching the film, not being too happy with the ending, and then watching the director's view on it and kind of being turned around. And so that was really, really cool. The booklet as well that comes with this, I'll quickly show you. I showed it in my other video as well. I think it's really, really nice booklet. You get some pictures from the film that are really nice. And you get two essays in here. One of them is about the film itself and is a really great read. I read it yesterday. And a nice little kind of piece to go along with the special features. And then the other piece is actually about the music of the film and the Daily Flash, who provided the music for this film, which I love the music. It was brilliant, really suited the film, was just really cool. And again, I come back to that word, cool. And there's also a little piece about how they kind of put the transfer together, which is really interesting if you like that kind of thing. The music one, I didn't read all of it because it was kind of a biography of the Daily Flash, but it does cover what they did with the film and how they came in and improvised a lot of the stuff they provided for the film. But if you're a music buff, then it's definitely a cool read. And again, a great little addition. I love that these releases have booklets, and you really do feel like these films get the attention they deserve and the treatment they deserve. So that was my review of Arrow Video's release of Pit Stop. It's out now. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll bring you another Arrow Video release review soon. Let me know what you think of this, if I should maybe make these reviews a little shorter. I know I've gone on for quite a while, but I really had a lot to say about this because I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
He says he's really cool, but I think he's a tool. Even though I'm sure he's a quite nice guy, really. He's a quite nice guy, really.